Welcome back to another edition of the Flogsville podcast. It is, of course, the Round 8 wrap brought to you by Manscaped. 20% off. Mother's Day just coming up for all the mums out there. It's important to keep your hair in check. And we'll move on swiftly, boys, to introduce. We've got coach of the Rabbitohs, Daniel. Hello, Daniel.
Hello, Scott. It's fantastic to be here, and just worth noting I'm here after a loss. I know that's been questioned a few times, but we have showed up, so lovely to be here.
Excellent, mates. And we've got the coach of the Guns N' Roses, Mr. 29. Ben, how are you, mate?
Yes, good evening, mate. Pleasure to be here. Wearing some apparel tonight, so for all the listeners out there. So.
Fantasy figure indeed. And joining us is Coach the Phenomenal, Tom. Hello, Tom.
Hi, Scott. Good to be here. Plenty to cover this week, I feel, both on and off field.
Yes, lots happening this week. And let's get straight into it with our Pig of the Week, boys. And it was, of course, one of our hosts here coming through with a 2087 in what was a really difficult round, boys. But Ben's side, the Guns N' Roses, just getting the job done. A few notable guys there. Andy Brayshaw was sensational, and Will Brodie against North Melbourne was fantastic also. But to hold Hewitt and still pump out the top score this week was a sensational effort from the Guns N' Roses, boys.
Yeah, absolutely. Shall we start with a hat watch?
Yes.
Yeah, Hat Watch is 29 as introduced in the introduction, but no, I did manage to hold this week, which was very handy. Paddy McCann, what a star he was coming off the bench for a phenomenal 86. Really didn't see that one coming. Very, very needed in a week, as you said, Scotty. A lot of low scores and a lot of injury carnage and omissions and the like. So to scrape through that score was, very pleasing.
Even Foley, I'm sure, after a lean week the week prior, squeezing out a 67 there, you would have been pleased with that.
Yeah, very pleased, Tom. Unfortunately, didn't have any other choice but to play Luke this week. And, I was very, very stoked with the 67. I was fully expecting sub 50. So, up there at the Gabba. Very pleased.
Oh, excellent, boys. Well, we'll move swiftly now onto our spud of the week. And gee whiz, it was a bad one for Peter G. King Kunta with a 1791. We don't often get in the 1700s. And as a result, my research has been extensive. So in 1971, a bit was going on, actually. The Brandenburg Gate, which is, of course, in Berlin, was finished. It was completed. So a massive deal there. Pretty much the start of the French Revolution was sort of kicking off at about 1791 as well. And just the final one, Mozart, I believe, died at the age of 35. So, a few big issues coming out of 1791. And speaking of big issues, boys, let's talk about Peter G's side. My goodness.
Quite a bit to digest there, Scott. Mozart just seems like he gave so much more than 35 years, but pushing on, having a look at the sides, I think we've raised a few of these concerns throughout the year of operators like Jake Bowie. He hasn't lost a game on field, but he hasn't won a lot of fantasy games in this realm. And Sam de Koning, the Lizard, actually pumping out quite a good score at 98 back there, but. Just too many blokes not getting the job done for Peter G. And Peter Laddams rolling around the ruck. Quite a obscure decision there, you would have thought.
Yeah, very, very stiff, I think, if you look at his defensive bench in Vlosten and Hewitt. So obviously two big scorers there for him, not playing this week. But, way too many passengers and still rolling around with Matt Rao, which is, a bit concerning. A poor captain score as a few other teams in Gorn. So, unfortunately, not many things going right, but there's enough good players in the midfield there for him to turn it around pretty quick, I think.
Excellent stuff, boys. We love ending on a positive note, as always. All right, let's get stuck in. Our first matchup was, of course, the Crouching Lions getting a reasonable victory over the Sisterhoods boys, 2008. Just getting the job done this weekend. Moving into 4th for Brett. We sort of mentioned before in our preview last week that this was a big game, and some familiar contributors there, boys.
Yeah, again, another one with Foley, who's managed to, put together a 67 there. And Oliver and McRae, obviously, we know how well they can score. On the Sisterhood side, familiar name there in Jay Kelly. Promising performance the week prior, but not able to back it up this week with an 89. Again, Rochelle has been one that, a lot of teams are trying to get off field at the moment. So, some things to work on there.
Mentioned top 4 there, Scotty. Done a little bit of research for this podcast in regards to some sides. And both of these sides feature in the research. So for Brett, he's actually had the easiest run of any team so far this year, according to the points against. So that might have something to do with his top 4. But in saying that, he's obviously always a pretty handy side. And on the flip side, the Sisterhoods have had the 3rd hardest run in the competition. So, and they're also the 7th highest scoring side. So I think plenty of positives for the Sisterhoods. It's, a bit of a week by week thing, but I think they're better than what their ladder position would suggest.
Oh, excellent. That's wonderful analysis, mate. Love that.
Captaincy selection's always a hot topic at the trade table, I should say, or the selection table each week. Going with Cripps this week, and I think they'd be very pleased with his output after some strong performances this season.
Good to have him back in the side. I think both coaches were quite relieved to get him back in. All right, let's move on to your boys, the Rabbitohs. Unfortunately, going down to the midfielders who pick up another victory. Let's talk us through this one, Rabs. What happened with your boys?
Yeah, very disappointing result, to say the least. Mid's just a better side, unfortunately. Fair complete cock up, to be honest, on my side of things. That I was thoroughly under the impression that I had Lockie Neal as captain until about halfway through Saturday night's game when I checked it and realised when I did the old rollback team or reverse trades that of course changes the captain as well. So to see Melbourne win and Big Max do bugger all really just made my Mother's Day on Sunday. But a bit of work to be done. Mids has been threatening sort of these types of performances, and he's already pulled off a few reasonable wins throughout the year. So good for him. But a bit of work to be done for my boys, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's one hell of a cock up there, Rabs, unfortunately. But in regards to the stats for this one, yourself, Rabs, you're the 6th lowest scoring side this year. So I wasn't sure if you were aware of that, but you certainly are now. Mids has had the 4th easiest run. So you mentioned he's had 3 in his last 5. But I think, the schedule gets a little bit tougher for him moving forward. So I think, it's pretty, in a way, fortunate to bank those wins and hopefully gets a few more moving forward. But, there's the stats on this matchup, boys.
All right, let's move on. I'm loving the stats this week, and it was the Burtons getting the job done, boys. We've talked about the 1791. We've talked about what happened in 1791. Let's talk about what happened with Brad's team this week. He's sort of ticking along, isn't he? He's just in the top 8, sort of doing enough. A lot of rookies on field for him, and ones that aren't really. Gibcus and McComb sort of just doing enough, but Jordan Dawson there on Sunday was fantastic there, and Paddy Cripps as a pod, boys. Anything more to add for Brad?
Again, I think last year Brad obviously came out of the box really strong and was challenging for a hat early days before burning out a little bit. And I think, this season it's more of a slow burn for him. He's really starting to build nicely, as I said, getting a few wins on the board. Whereas last year was pushing for that overall ranking, I feel like this year he's probably nicely positioned to contend for the league title. As we say there. Jordan Dawson in defence, a really handy score from him this week, and seems to be a bit of a pod throughout the league as well. There's only a handful of coaches that have got him, so be pleased with some of those selections.
No great stats on this one, boys, but Brad has won 3 now. So, sitting 2 and 3 now, he's 5 and 3 and firmly in the 8 there. So, as you said, Tom, he's building nicely, and hopefully he can, go a bit of a reverse sort of cycle to last year for him.
All right, let's move on, boys. It was the Glen Mountain Fan Club, who are really in some hot form at the moment, beating Hoffleberry FC, and I believe we predicted this one, boys. Talk us through what went well for Sean this week.
Yeah, a game of interesting pods, really, as I think we alluded to last week. I'm pretty sure Ollie Wines was an in for Sean as well, and not pumping out the score he would have been looking for. So probably even more reason for him to be celebrating success there. But Lockie Neal with the captaincy, you'd have to be a smart man to do that, wouldn't you? So well done there by Sean. But not much in this matchup really. Just having a look at it now, Hugh McCluggage is really the difference really, with 141 pumping out a huge score against the West Coast. So a couple of wins on the bounce for Sean, so he'd be up and about.
Absolutely, and Zach Williams, what's there? A really, really 64 to bring it home on the Sunday evening. I'm really producing what Zach tends to do. Anyway, the champion data on this one, boys. The Glen Mountains are actually the 6th highest scoring side in the competition this year. So that did surprise me, going through the stats a little bit. But, 3 wins in a row, as you said there, Rabs, and coming up to 10th. So after a slow start, he's building quite nicely, other mountains. But, the other side, the Hoffleberries, they're complete train wreck at the moment, aren't they? They're sitting 15th and, so show no real signs. With his man Pendlebury, 74. If you give him credit, we've got to give him shit as well. So, anyway, just thought we'd mention that one.
Fair enough. Anything to add on this one, Tom?
No, not a lot. Just reiterating the fact that I'm really enjoying some of the uniques on Sean's side, and even better when he's not playing you. Really, really nice team to get behind.
All right, let's switch up to our next matchup. It was the B Sharps really pulling up a nice victory here with the 2022, one of the higher scores, one of the few teams to get in the 2000s this week, boys, and just getting the job done over Team GC. It looked like Team GC was sort of in control of this matchup for most of the weekend, but Dale's side just getting the job done.
I reckon if you said at the start of the round, I reckon if you said at the start of the round that this would be in the top sort of 3 high-scoring matchups for the weekend, you would have got a lot of money. And but quite a few players pumping out pretty good scores there. John Newcomb on Team GC pumping out 100, but a lot of pods to digest there. But Paddy Cripps probably sort of stands out with his 130 for the B Sharps, particularly coming home strong, as well as Doc and Jordan Dawson for the B Sharps, but 2 pretty solid scores for these 2 sides.
Unusual score from Jade Gresham for Team GC, which you'd be disappointed about. Really consistent around that 80 to 90 mark all season. Pumped out a 42, so hopefully he can bounce back for Team GC this week. And probably one that you look at and think, I guess along with Heaney, potentially, if they had have scored to their full potential, it might have been a different story.
Nice to see, just before you hit us with some stats, Ben, nice to see Zach once again using the loophole, boys.
That was going to be my comment. I think since we mentioned that, he hasn't not loopholed, really. So I think it's about 3 weeks in a row where he's used that option. But to be honest, it's a great option because you always need a good captain. So, but yeah, no great stats on this one. But for Dale, that's his first win in his last 5 games. So after a reasonable start, much needed win to sort of kickstart him again. But whether that actually makes a difference later in the season, we'll have to wait and see.
Yes, we will. All right, let's move to your matchup, Tom. Phenomenal. Unfortunately, going down to, my God, your Liberatore, Hugh side, getting a nice victory here, boys, with another side in the 2000s. Your thoughts first, Tom, on a tough weekend?
Yeah, another insipid effort from Phenomenal. Really disappointing last sort of month of football, if not longer, really. Really struggling to get some of these rookies off field, which, just aren't producing. The likes of Horn Francis, Ward, brought in Hamilton. I was in need of a forward rookie who was on 38, I believe, at halftime and managed 6 for the second half of the game. So, I was smarting at halftime, thinking it'd been a nice little rookie pickup, but not to be. Died in the arse, unfortunately. So, back to the drawing board this week, and I think I'll have to deliver a bit of a spray, David Noble style, to really rev the boys up ahead of this weekend.
I think that's quite right. I think on Huey's side, like he had that poor cat as well, so it could have been a bit bigger. But not many blokes missing out and topping off nicely with Dawson at the end there. But of course, I'm not here to talk about teams. I'm here to talk about some numbers. And what have we got in this one? We've got Huey as the 3rd highest scoring team in the comp this year. So I think he's sitting 3rd at the moment, which would sit about right. But also interesting to know here, Tom, and I'm sure you'd be aware of this. You've had the 3rd easiest draw in the competition so far. Did you know that?
Yeah, correct. And I've been very lucky, especially early days. Hence why the last sort of fortnight to a month really struggled big time.
Yes, and that would be reflective of 3 of the last 4, unfortunately, being losses for yourself. But anyway, I'm sure you'll respond. And on Huey's side, he's had the 2nd easiest draw. But when you're the 3rd highest scoring team, that sort of levels it out. So there you go. There's some stats. Cheers.
Fantastic once again. All right, let's go to the keys. Unfortunately, going down to Smith's Cripps, boys, with, again, one of the highest scores this round, cracking the 2000. What was a much-needed win for Liam's side, boys?
Well, captaincy choice just appears absolutely critical in this one when you really study it. And Max Scorn getting the C for the keys. And he's actually managed to pump out a near 2000 score with a 134 captain. And that's really the difference. If you sort of look through, he probably was on track to win that game without that captaincy choice. So disappointing for Jake, but still a pretty good score on Liam's side, one of the highest scores for the round. And Ollie Wines, I don't know if he's not sure if he's an in for Liam there, but he's going to be around the mark again, you would have thought, come the business end.
I'm enjoying sort of scrolling down and having a look at the bench cover that a lot of teams have got at this stage of the season. I find it really provides a bit of an indication as to where their next sort of month or next few rounds of football might go, with a bit of cash generation on the bench. And looking at Liam's team, he's only got the one DNP on the bench from the weekend in Reef McInnes. So, obviously some cash sitting there ready for upgrade season. One to watch, I think.
Massively one to watch, boys. You've nailed it. Newsy, the 4th highest scoring team this year. So I think that 4-4 ledger and sitting 9th at the moment isn't really reflective of where his side is at. And I think you've nailed it, Tom. His team value is the 2nd highest, I believe. So he's had the 6th hardest run so far. So I reckon he's got some easier schedules ahead, and I'm sure he'll be featuring at the business end as he usually does, the reigning premier.
Yeah, absolutely, boys. Let's move on. It was a Cripps of the Heart up against Armour. You've done it again, and we nearly had an almighty upset, boys. Sam coming off a loss last week, just got the job done, boys. Let's talk about this one.
Yeah, was studying this one quite a bit throughout the weekend. Just couldn't quite believe what I was looking at, to be honest. Sam's been, really around the mark all year. Very, very impressive side. But Tom Mitchell with the captaincy pulling out a 51, just having a real catastrophic impact there. And for Hughes, I think it was mentioned the other week, a very unusual pick of Malcolm Roses. If he'd managed to pull out just a 60 or something like that, probably would have got him across the line. But 23, unfortunately, for Malcolm, not quite getting it done there. And yeah, it's certainly costing him.
In saying that, he only lost by 44 points, and going into the last game, it was, Rochelle and whatever it was versus Dawson. So if it wasn't for Jordan Dawson going a bit above and beyond, I feel like the Macraes could have had back-to-back losses for obviously the first time this year. But onto the Macraes, they've had the 7th easiest run this year, boys. So I don't know where that sits, but I think, weeks like this, very, very fortunate to get away with that win, and Paddy McCartan as well, filling in for George Stewart beautifully for Sam. I'm sure he'll be very, very happy with that one.
Just a quick one on Hills' side, boys. Just a straight C on Bailey Smith with the Friday night game. I think with captaincy's been our real theme tonight. I think that vice captain, you've got 2 shots, and it's vital, really, because it is the difference between a lot of our matchups, because everyone's pretty close at the moment. So even more important there to nail that captaincy, or at least have 2 shots at it when it's a Friday night game.
Absolutely.
All right, let's move on to our last matchup. It was, of course, the Guns and Roses remaining unbeaten, just getting the job done against my boys, which was, as we said from the top, was fantastic and impressive from Ben, considering he held Hewitt and I traded him. Just a couple of individuals there for mine. Luke Parker was off to a ripping start and unfortunately rolled his ankle. So that wasn't a great second half. And Isaac Heaney just not quite turning up, unfortunately, but couldn't fault anyone else, really. Lockie Neal was good against West Coast. He was certainly on track when I did check it in the midway point of the third quarter. I sort of thought, 125, 130 territory for Lockie, but unfortunately he sat on the pine for the last few minutes of the game. But Ben's side just way too strong, unfortunately there.
Just a bit of an observation, Scotty. Please correct me if I'm wrong, but Luke Parker, in addition to your side this week?
Absolutely, yep. Luke Parker.
Am I right? No, sorry. No, go on, Scotty.
No. Yeah, Luke Parker in, and with the Matt Crouch news, I had a bit of cash from the week before, so I was able to go Matt Crouch to Took Miller, which was nice, and then Hewitt to Parker. So
just couldn't help but notice. Am I right in saying that Luke Parker was also an inclusion for the sisterhoods this week, Scotty? Just keeping an eye across these things and just starting to see a few correlations just emerging from time to time.
He was a good forward option to bring in. So I'm glad the sisterhoods brought him in. It was, I was sort of tossing up between Mitch Duncan would have been ideal, really, for this weekend. But hoping Luke Parker is just a good pick. So that happens a lot. Oh, would you like a response? No. Okay. No comment. Anything more from this matchup, boys? We've got the 10-minute warning.
Just appears that you've been beating yourself up a little bit about the loss, Scotty.
I have
a few physical sort of wounds there.
Oh, really quick, don't play mini golf, and especially if there's a few 12-year-olds around. Unsupervised, come on, parents, do better. Copped a bit of an injury, unfortunately. Wanted to really, Joel Selwood, get me out there, but no, unfortunately, had to get some medical attention. So yes, we will move on to this week's matchups, boys. That was a great segue, Tom, by the way. That you must be commended for that. That was we did not rehearse that. All right, quick predictions, because we're running out of time very fast. The Crouching Lions up against the Midfielders, boys. Danger game.
Yeah, I think I'll go the Crouching Lions. despite the data that we've been presented. I think they'll continue on their winning ways.
Yes, agreed. Crouching Lions for me, but clearly a danger game for the Crouching Lions. Sorry, for the midfielders.
I don't mind back in the mids here. They'll be on 3 in a row, I think, from what I'm looking at there. So, as we've said, Brett's sort of getting away with a little bit, I think. So I wouldn't be completely out of the ordinary. But I'll go to the mids. Why not?
Excellent. All right, quick one on the Sisterhoods up against the Burtons, boys.
Should be another tight game, I think, this week. Tough to separate. I think I'm going to have to go with the Sisterhoods, though, this week.
But no, well, I think the Burpings. But I think the Sisterhoods are due a little bit of luck, to be fair. So, very, very even.
Burpins just. There you go. All right, let's move on, boys. The Rabbitohs up against the Glen Mountain Fan Club in what a huge matchup, really, Rabs. Talk us through this one.
Yeah, pretty important match. I've been told that my side's the 6th lowest scoring team, so lots of people trying to talk us down this week, which that's fine. We'll backs up against the wall this week against Sean. No, I think it's going to come down to his unusual selections, as we say pretty much all the time with Sean. If they pull their finger out, then he'll go all right. And if they don't, I think hopefully we'll get the chocolates. But speaking of runs, I do know that, this is really must win because I've got Hugh, Sam and Ben in my next 3 matchups. So this is a very important one for my side after last week.
There you go. We love that. All right. Quick prediction. Peter G and King Kunta up against the B-Sharps. B-Sharps for me.
B-Sharps.
B-Sharps.
All right. Hoffleberry FC up against, my God, your Liberatore. You'd think the Liberatores would get the job done here, boys.
Comfortably for mine.
I agree.
All right, let's move on to Team GC up against Smith's Crips. Liam, as we've suggested, a bit unlucky to be sitting 9th. He should carry on, hopefully, this weekend.
Yeah, Team JC is pulling out a few nice scores of late. However, I think, Smith's Crips will be too good.
Yeah, the Crips are mine, and I'm not sure who's done this scheduling, but that's Saturday night sort of fixtures. They're not really, bringing the crowds in, are they? Unfortunately, so hopefully we get some nice Sunday games to bring it home.
Yeah, the fixture is a bit of a mess. All right, Tom, your boys in a crunch match. This one after some disappointing weeks up against Sam's boys. What do we see happening here, guys?
I see Fenno getting up. I think Sam's potentially reached a little bit of a downward spiral, I think, with his side. But to still be sitting second, he's got to be doing things right. So I think, Fenno, you've obviously analysed your side and those rookies ASAP got to get off the ground. And I think if you can do that, you'll be victorious.
Yeah, very, very important game, this one, isn't it? Probably one of the closer ones of the rounds. I'm probably thinking the same. I think just too important for Phenomenal to drop this one. And Sam probably starting to show a couple of cracks emerging. So we'll go with Phenomenal.
Just on Sam quickly, I believe he traded Mitch Duncan out last week.
Wow.
To then against him and then scored 124 against him. So I think there's a bit in that. Exactly sure what. But we'll go with that.
Fantastic. We love that. All right, we've got the Keys up against my boys this week, boys. Very quickly, what's going to happen here, do you think?
Sarong's to get up, just back too deep at the moment. Not many rooks on field compared to the Keys. So, Sarong's for mine.
Yeah, I agree. Sarong's for mine, but Petrarca looms really, really large Sunday evening against the West Coast. Potential captain option if Jake's watching. Hint. But no, I think you Scotty, you'll cover.
Yeah, it's wrongs for me.
Yeah, we are seeing with those a few of those bad sides. West Coast is one that any pods against those sides is it's points to be had. All right, we've got first versus last, boys. We couldn't be more polar opposite here. It has to be the Guns and Roses, surely, to get another victory, and most importantly, keep up with in the hat hunt and in the Hilux hunt, both starting with the letter H there. That's a bit of fun for you. Ben, what's sort of the plan this week up against Total Eclipse of the Heart?
The plan will be to put pedal to the metal as such and go full steam ahead and hopefully get some percentage. That'd be quite nice. But no, there's a lot of uniques here, which I'm just looking at. You should obviously go all right, you'd think, but you never know. So the aim is to have everyone playing this week from a selection point of view. So we'll be going with that.
Crab's bet odds probably similar to a West Coast game of late, I would have thought, for this one. Nice percentage booster for the Guns and Roses.
Agreed.
Excellent.
Speaking of Rab, that hasn't made a return since 2021. What's been happening there, please, Babs?
Yeah, great question. Not a lot, funnily enough. That's why it hasn't been part of the show. But I'm sure it'll make an appearance at some stage. In fact, you might even be able to start a market on when the market will resume.
Oh, very good, mates. Thank you, boys. Thank you for your efforts. Thank you for those tuning in at home. Please like and subscribe. It does make a difference. And let us know you're actually watching. So thanks very much. Stay safe. Don't play mini golf, whatever you do. Good luck on the weekend. All see ya.